said, Daddy, why you walking like that? I said, baby, I didn't get the polio shot, so that's why. And I tell her, baby, Daddy, make sure that you ain't get it, because Daddy take you there.
I think the only place I didn't have it was on my tongue, practically. I had it in my ears and everywhere.
I told my sister what happened. She told me, we're not come, second day, she told me, we're come go to the doctor, you know. I said, doctor what? I said, no, nothing.
The first ever World Immunization Week was observed from April 21st to 28th, 2012. The week, which coincided with the 10th anniversary of Vaccination Week in the Americas, is aimed at raising awareness on how immunization saves lives and increasing vaccination coverage to prevent disease outbreaks. In January this year, Barbados successfully piloted the resolution to have the World Health Organization declare World Immunization Week. Leading the charge was Chief Medical Officer Dr. Joy St. John.
I worked with that unit at the Pan American Health Organization. I also worked with the unit chief in charge of vaccines in the World Health Organization, CAREC, and the PAHO office here, the Office for Barbados in the Eastern Caribbean, to craft and refine and redraft a resolution. And I also had very good support from the mission in Geneva, specifically from Councillor Dr. Carlita Babshafer in the health diplomacy, because it's not just about the technical aspects, but there's also a diplomacy in winning countries over to the concept of signing on to such a resolution. So there was a great deal of diplomacy, health diplomacy extended. So we went to the executive board with this draft resolution being conference paper number 1. And then we proceeded to, on the ground, try and win support among the members of the executive board so that the resolution would be passed. And we were successful on the 21st of January, a Saturday, in having this resolution passed with a few minor changes.
Over the years, not everyone has been fortunate enough to be protected against vaccine-preventable diseases. Chickenpox is a common illness that causes an itchy rash and red spots or blisters all over the body. It is most common in children, but most people will contract it at some point in their lives if they have not had the chickenpox vaccine. Lynette Corbin is a retired public health nurse who contracted chickenpox as a child. It left her with hearing loss in one ear.
I got chickenpox as a 16-year-old. My nephew brought it home from school. He was at Byer Primary. He brought it home from school. And, well, back in those days, let me say, you had somebody sick, a child sick, you're an older child, you have to look after them because your parents were at work. Well, this was my sister overseas. That was her child, so we were caring for him before he went to his mum, so I looked after him. And of course, I got it. It was a very miserable feeling, honestly, because they itched. Once they started to, they came up in these little water blisters and got bigger and bigger, and then they would break off and start to dry off, ooze and then start to dry off. So at these stages is when she gave us the Dettol and stuff to bathe with, carbolic soap and Dettol. And then we used to use Vaseline as well. Use Vaseline, especially on the spots, to keep the scales from blowing around. Yeah, because once you start, if you had the real bad infection, you had a lot of spots all over. Yes. I think the only place I didn't have it was on my tongue, practically. I had it in my ears and everywhere. Actually, it's left me with a right hearing deficiency. Yes.
Does that?
Yes. Hey, but if you got a sore, in the healing process, it creates scar tissue. And scar tissue limits the stretch of your skin anywhere. So if you got it in your ear, which would more likely be on your eardrum or wherever, then the scar tissue keeps the eardrum from bouncing as it should when the song hits it, right? So that was the problem. It was a conduction deficiency in terms of the eardrum.
Like most people who have had chickenpox, Lynette is now at risk of developing shingles.
The chickenpox virus, the virus that causes chickenpox, will live in your nerve endings. And it's there for the rest of your life. And once, as you get older, or even as a young person, any really stressful situations that you have terrific difficulties with can cause you to have outbreaks. So you can come out in these areas, and because it's a nerve ending thing, then the areas of your body that have the greater masses of nerve endings are the areas that are more delicate, then you will have the outbreaks. So you can get it on your chest, you can get it on your face, you can get it on your back. Mostly, those are the most effective areas in terms of, it's terribly painful. Nerve endings is where you feel all your pain. So it's really, really painful when you get chickenpox, when you get shingles.
Polio is a contagious viral illness that in its most severe form causes paralysis, difficulty breathing, and sometimes death. Born in St. Vincent, Kelston Woods, now the father of 2 young girls, was diagnosed with polio at the tender age of 2.
Well, I didn't get the polio shots when I was growing up. So, pain is only when I reach a little older I get to understand about the polio shot. Because I used to ask my mother, Mom, why children used to call me names, you know? So something wrong about me, I'm so different. And one day my mom told me because of her error that I didn't get a polio shot. And she used to tell me that, tell them that, mind your own business, so it was type of hard growing up. I couldn't do certain things as a child.
Tetanus is another vaccine-preventable disease which some people underestimate. But 76-year-old farmer Levi Mears will never make that mistake again. He was in his 50s when he contracted it while tending to his animals.
I went to get a glass of water. I stepped on a piece of pine, so I didn't know the pine was. That piece just entered my flesh, you know. I put it over. For the second day, I found myself I can eat good. So I was a ready for the dog food, anybody see. But the third day, that was the worst. Couldn't even get tea, drink in the morning, couldn't do nothing. They told the animals to come back, get ready, and off to the hospital. And all I knew, I went to the hospital. I was not going to tell anybody what went on. I know it was the month of August. I already do it, so, but other than that, I can tell anybody nothing, not this September month. Not this September when I come back to myself.
Levi's niece, Juliet Benjamin, a nurse, was on duty at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital when he was admitted.
I was sent to accident emergency to see what was going on with him. When I got there, I did not recognize him. He had this grimace on his face, like a grin, what people call a sardonic grin. And he was like he was smiling, but still he It looked funny to me. So I started to cry. And one of the senior nurses took me away to a room and told me he's very ill, but he'll be looked after. So he was admitted immediately to Ward C10, and later that night he was transferred to the intensive care unit.
Barbados's coverage against vaccine-preventable diseases is over 90%. This is mainly due to continued surveillance, public education programs, and vigilance on the part of health officials.
We actually had PAHO come in through CAREC and do a survey to verify our percentage coverage and to pinpoint exactly where by age group and antigen we have to focus our outreach. So we have been using that information to try to target those who have slipped through the cracks.
The island's polyclinics play a major role in the public education effort and the local immunization campaign. All of them hold child health clinics, such as this one held every Tuesday at the St. Philip Polyclinic.
The purpose of Child Health Day is to ensure that children develop normally, they achieve their developmental milestones, and any deviation from the norm will be identified at an early stage so that appropriate actions can be taken. We not only immunize children, but we also immunize adults. On Child Health Day, we usually start by educating clients because we all know that education is very important. We educate on the importance of immunization, the importance of keeping your appointments, and also how to manage your child post-vaccination. You know, the child will be given an immunization. That simply means that he'll be given a kill or weakened form of the same virus or bacteria that causes the disease. Therefore, he may or may not be a little bit fussy, might even develop a little temperature, or might just be somewhat irritable. We strictly advise our clients not to interfere, do not do anything at the injection site. Just observe it. You don't rub it, you don't put anything on it, including iodex. You know, some grandmothers might, say, okay, it is good to do such and such and such, but you leave the injection site alone. Armol can be given in response to a fever or if the child is irritable. If the child is having pain, the child might be restless, the child will be irritable. So you can give your Armol as prescribed. You do not give Armol routinely in response to vaccinations. You only give Armol if condition warrants. We also advise clients what to do if their child have an elevated temperature and the best possible management, and if they're unable to control that temperature, feel free to bring the children back to us.
It is up to parents to ensure that their children are protected against vaccine-preventable diseases by making sure their immunizations are up to date.
It wasn't a bad experience. I thought he would have cried even worse, but it was good overall. And I think if we really care and love our children, we would get them immunized to prevent the various diseases that they're being immunized against. So I definitely would not advise a parent not to come, and definitely to come on time, because the doctors and nurses would know, the exact time they need to have these shots. So I can't say if it's supposed to be, the first shot is supposed to be 2 months. I can't say, well, I can bring it at 4 months, because I don't know what could happen by that time. So I definitely would advise parents to keep up to date with your child's immunizations. It's all documented in the book that we get, so I would advise them to keep up to date with them.
For me, as a father, I figure that all men then should at least pay more interest in the children, because the majority of the children of today need a lot of father love. And we as men, they figure that we go and we get the children, they figure the ladies will be for women. But they all feel that anytime you have a child and they need to get an injection, etc., medication checkups, always be there to see, at least see what's going on. Because we, majority as men, think that as we get the children, we figure that the parents just to take the children, with the parents or the mother is supposed to take the children to the doctor, etc. by itself. So we have to get more into it to see exactly what's going on. But me, from the time she was born, I have been there to now.